Apparently this is a shellfish, but all I see is Pac-Man. And maybe this is Pac-Man with a flower on. Here it is the next morning. We're up and out, but it's not open to the public yet. Okay, so it is Friday now. We spent last night at the Ice Hotel, but because we got here when it was already dark, we didn't really get to see the hotel in the daylight, and we only got to really see our room because it was already closed and closed to the public pretty much by the time we got here. So now we're going to go explore all of the other rooms in the Ice Hotel in the daylight. So they have this cabana sucra over here that we might have to check out, and then that's the chapel, and that's the hotel, and this is where the hot tubs were. It's behind this ice wall here. The basics again. So it does have a light in the bottom of the bed, and then it's still got the switch so you can turn it on and off. So this would be the room without the ice carvings in it, so they're smaller, but they're still a pretty neat experience. And basically I'm sure the question most people have is, what kind of sleep do you get in a nice hotel? And I would say that the sleep was okay, but not for the reasons you'd think. We were warm. I wouldn't say I was cold at all the whole night. But it was because you're in this sleeping bag and you have very strict instructions on how to get in the bag and how to zip yourself in so you're all sort of not exposed. It's really conducive to sleeping on your back, which is not my preferred method of sleeping. So I found that pretty restrictive, and you could sort of turn one way, but if you tried to turn the other way, because of the way the hood of the bag went around you, you had like Velcro and zippers in your face. So I found that was a bit restrictive. And so I'd say that was my biggest complaint about the type of sleep. Also, they tell you to wear a hat, which we both did, but both of us had hats with the pom-pom on it, and that kind of got in the way. So Mike lost his hat like halfway through the night. It came off and was in his sleeping bag. Mine stayed on, but because of the way the pom-pom was, it sort of like pushed further down on my face, and then it was like half over my face for part of the night. And just the pom-pom was just like an extra thing to get caught on the sleeping bag. So I'd recommend get a hat without a pom-pom if you're sleeping. Probably the coldest part was in the morning when you wake up. You have to get out of the sleeping bag. So the fact that I had my clothes in the sleeping bag made them that much better to put on. My coat was outside the sleeping bag. My coat was in a dry bag on the floor by my boots. But the coat, because it's warm, isn't as big a deal. My pants and my socks and everything were in the bag with me, which was nice. But I also had room at the bottom of my bag because I'm not that tall. Mike put his clothes in his dry bag. So when he went to put them on this morning, they were very cold, which doesn't take long to warm up, but something to keep in mind. Also, with some of the rooms, like our bed had equal space on both sides of the bed, so we could each put our stuff, like our shoes, beside the bed, and our dry bags and our clothes. Some of these rooms don't. Like this one, you'd have to like climb over someone if there were two in this bed. And some of them had much wider ice bits. So keep in mind, this one's actually quite ideal because you could easily just sit on this bed without having to worry about climbing over it. But some of the other rooms ours probably went out to here, the ice. So you kind of have to like jump over it or step on the ice, which is very cold without shoes. Or you could maybe put something on the ice, but they don't recommend putting anything on here because it could melt to it, or I guess freeze to it. I'm assuming it's like a ventilation or something. The hole is really the only way you can tell because there's no windows. It's the only way you can tell if it's light out or not. They tell you as well not to bring electronics in the room because the cold will drain the battery, and they sort of say use it as an excuse to like unplug, which is great. But my first question was, how will I know when to wake up then? Because if you can't see if it's light and you don't know what time it is and you don't have a watch or a phone, they actually come and wake you up. So they'll come just to your curtain at 8:15 is the first one, and they say, good morning, this is your first wake up call, and then they come again at 8:30 and again at 8:45 to wake you up. So if you're worried about sleeping through that, you could sort of give them a heads up and say, can you please make sure I'm up? But for us, it wasn't a problem. We actually woke up probably about 10 minutes before they did the wake-up call because Mike thought he must have dreamed they had done the wake-up call. So by the time they came for our wake-up call, we were already awake, wondering what time it was. So there you go. And we did bring our camera in so we could take pictures and video, and the battery was still fine in the morning.
I kept the battery in the sleeping bag though, just to keep it warm. And inside all the sleeping bags, there's a little pocket right up by your chest that you could keep things like that. So if you wanted to keep your phone, that'd be the place to keep it. And that's why wasn't any problems with the camera in the morning. It's just because we kept the battery warm in the sleeping bag. So.
Okay, so this was actually our room that we slept in. And one thing that surprised me was, you can see there's lights on right now. So they've got like a green light back here to sort of illuminate the gnome, and then over here it reflects some light, and on this little stool behind Mike. So there's a switch right here to turn off the lights so that when you're sleeping you don't have these blinding LEDs. But one thing I found is, even with the lights off, probably because it's white and it's snow, you can still see. Like there's still light coming from the hallway, and it's still quite light. So it's not pitch dark. The other thing that was interesting was when you check in, they get you to sign a waiver that you're not going to wreck things. So there's certain items, and they kind of say like, and it's between the Hotel del Cartier and this one because you have a room at both, and they say like if you take the robe it'll be this cost, if you take the if you damage things there's cost. And then the things you could damage are things like any of the ice furniture, the sleeping bag, and they'll charge you to replace it. There's also a cost if you pee in the room. They're gonna charge you for that too. I guess that must be something they may be worried about, because how do you clean an ice room? I don't know. I guess you have to chip it out. I don't know. So they made a bit of a point of saying in the training that you can, you know, if you have to go to the bathroom, it's not that difficult, and you can just unzip yourself, run to the bathroom, and then run back. There's porta potties outside that you can get to, and they're heated, I'm told. Or you could go back into the hotel. There's a door not too far, the one that's used to go to the hot tubs, and you could just run in there to use the bathroom. There's public washrooms down there, or you could go all the way back up to your hotel room at Hotel del Cartier as well. But we found that wasn't a problem. We went to bed around 12:30, and we were up by 8:30, and it wasn't an issue. We tried to limit the drinking, though, I will say, to be fair. Okay, so this is what the bed looks like without the sleeping bag. So when you come in for the night, if you're staying the night, they put two big sacks on the bed, and in the sacks are your sleeping bag and your liner and your pillow. The beds, although it's made of ice, just to clarify, this part's all made of ice, but if you look right here, there's a wooden box spring right there, and then this is a foam mattress with some blankets on it. They give you additional pillows, so I think those pillows are there for decoration, but they give you, in your sleeping bag, there is a liner and a little pillow that goes in as well.
And I don't think you'd want to put too many pillows behind your head, otherwise it pushes your face into the sleeping bag, and then it gets all wet and gross.
Yeah, one thing we discovered when we woke up is both of us had, so the sleeping bag goes like around your face like this, and then when you're breathing, obviously the condensation from your breath comes on the top part of your sleeping bag, and then you've got like little ice crystals sort of on the outside of your sleeping bag. It doesn't feel cold because it's the outside of the sleeping bag and you're inside, but it's just kind of weird. It's kind of like, oh, there's a whole bunch of wetness right here. Kind of gross. Okay, so take two. We just did this whole thing and we realized we didn't record it, so we're going again. So we are sitting at the ice bar. This is our drink. It's called the Hotel de Glace signature cocktail. It is in a glass made completely of ice. So they have different sizes. This is like more like the cocktail glass, and then they also have like a smaller size, different cocktail glass. The drinks range in price from $9 to $15, like that. This is one of the more expensive ones. There is a different price if you bring your ice glass back and get a refill. So one tip we were given, which we didn't try, was to get like a vodka shot first, because the vodka will melt the ice, and then you've got a slightly bigger pour next time. Oh, here's a tip. Where you have to wear gloves to drink this drink, even if it's above zero here today. So realistically, you don't really need gloves outside, or at least we don't think you do. But if you're drinking the ice drink, you definitely do. It gets very cold. But don't bring your favorite pair, because the pores get a little full, and I spilled on my gloves already. As well, sometimes if you use them at a table, as you put it down, it kind of sticks to it. You got to sort of pull it, and then you could spill as well. The more you drink out of one side, the easier it is, because it's less of a giant block of ice. Yeah, so basically they close the doors to the public for the ice hotel at 8 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock they start having planned activities for those who are staying overnight. And I think the idea behind it is to sort of build some camaraderie and be like, hey, we're all doing this crazy thing, stay in this ice hotel. So they did like a scavenger hunt type thing, and which we weren't very good at because we didn't have anything with us. We just had like our coats and stuff in our pockets, so we weren't contributing much. Sorry, Team 4. And it was sort of a neat activity. Then we did some snow sculpting, so like blocks of snow, and they give you tools and you can try to snow sculpt, which It's difficult to do, and again, you need gloves. The demographics of the people staying here while we were here, there was mostly Americans and from some hot destinations. So there was a guy from Hawaii, there were some people from California, Florida. So I think probably it's a bit of a novelty to them to stay in an ice hotel. We only, apart from the people that work here, we only really ran across one other family of Canadians. They were from Ontario, and we were sort of the other group. We were the only ones from Western Canada. And then you also sort of were free at that point to go to your room, which is the first time we got to check out our room. And then you could also go do the hot tubs, obviously, or you could go to your other hotel room in the Valcartier. I think most people went to bed, I wouldn't say before 11 or midnight for sure. There was still, when we were in the hot tubs, we were in there until maybe 11:45, and there were a few still in there. As well, my one complaint might be the hot tub area was nice. One of the hot tubs that we got in first, unfortunately, was somebody had tripped the emergency switch or something, and it wasn't very warm, so it actually made us colder.
It was colder than 97
because when we got them to turn it back on, it was at 97. So we eventually abandoned ship after it wasn't coming up to temp, and we picked a different hot tub. But the only complaint I would have really about that, other than that, I mean, that's unfortunate, but you just change hot tubs, is they only had one sauna. So I feel like every time we went to go get in it, it was full already, so we didn't go in the sauna at all at the end of the day. We just did the hot tub. So, but I don't know if you needed it really. We sort of went in the hot tub and then we came back to the room and we had to like blow dry our hair and stuff because you don't want to come back out here with frozen hair. It was a neat experience, but I think you could skip the hot tubs and you'd be fine. I don't know that it really helped us stay warm.
No, I think it's a nice activity.
Yeah, it's more something, a cool experience.
You wouldn't want to maybe spend 10 hours or 12 hours in bed. I think that if you go to bed at sort of midnight and you're aiming to be up for that 8 o'clock wake up call, I think that's lots of time to spend in there. And if you spent a pile more time, it probably could get to be less comfortable. And I think it's totally tolerable for that amount of time, but I wouldn't want to. I don't want to have my sleep-in day.
It's not the sleep-in type of hotel, no. We were up before the wake-up call, actually, so it's more about the experience of sleeping and saying, like, yeah, I slept in a giant igloo, which is pretty cool.
I think it's a very unique experience, though, definitely, overall. So.
Yeah, I would recommend it, absolutely. Do you want a glove? Look at, he's ignoring my advice about the gloves. These are his gloves that I borrowed, because I didn't bring mine. Yesterday he didn't bring them, today I didn't bring them. So, I know what you're going to say. We're going to talk about these glasses more. So, they make all these glasses, and then they have different sizes, and then when you're done with them, you can either bring it back and get a refill, or you can dispose of them. They have a special little garbage can over there for these glasses, and then they come by when it gets full with a little sled, and they, like, take away all the broken used glasses, and I think they must just melt them down, and they just make new ones. But, it was kind of neat. They have little sleds for everything.
So even imagine for their sleeping bags when they're bringing all that stuff, there's no rolling carts here, so then it'd be everything just sort of on sled.
Yeah. So. Even the snow sculpture blocks that we had yesterday came in on a sled. Okay, so I'm done with my glass. I'm not getting another drink because we're heading into Quebec City. So this is the garbage. I don't know what you'd have to throw out. I don't think they have anything other than ice drinks, but that's the garbage. And here's a little slot for your ice glass. When you're done with it, you just put it in there. And then he empties this. Actually, it's on a sled, you can see.
So it's got some skis mounted on the bottom of a pallet there.
Yeah, or they can open this and pull the thing out and put it on a sled to take it away. So Hotel de Glace is attached to the Hotel Valcartier, which is attached to this Valcartier Vacation Village Resort. And the entrance to the whole resort has these cool little like alpine village motif everywhere. Looks kind of like Disneyland or something, which I thought was kind of neat. So basically this area has restaurants and it has access to a whole bunch of tube slides. out the back, and then there's also an indoor water park, and I think in the summer there's an outdoor water park as well. And the Hotel de Glace is through that way, and that's the Valcartier Hotel as well. Valcartier Vacation Village also has this arcade, and then if you look outside, that's the Ice Hotel over there, and then that's some of the tube rides, and the summer water park. From the second floor of the hotel right by the indoor water park, and you can just make out directly in front of us is a sort of a three-shaped rectangle or three-sided rectangle. That's where the hot tubs are, and then you can just make out the roof of the sauna there, and then behind it is the Ice Hotel.